Welcome back everyone. We're going to be doing another comparison today between the Google Pixel 4a and the Samsung Galaxy S20. Now this might be a random comparison because we're looking at pretty much a flagship from one end to a budget from another, and I'll be honest, if you have all the money in the world, getting the Galaxy S20 is completely a no-brainer. I would highly recommend it, and honestly, and even if you're looking for a budget phone or something, I would say getting a Samsung Galaxy S20 from Amazon is only going to cost you less than $700. So I would still kind of recommend picking up a Samsung Galaxy S20 at the end of the day, even though it's still twice the price at the very least of a Pixel 4a. And I'll go ahead and leave that one linked down below. But the Pixel 4a honestly is still a very good device, very good budget phone. And I just wanted to see the differences between these two, the speed differences and all that. And like I said, S20 by far the better phone, but the 4a, for what you're getting, is still pretty incredible in my opinion. Now I want to look at the front of both of these, and as you can see, I mean, definitely the Galaxy S20 is the far better display. You're getting a 6.2-inch dynamic AMOLED display on that. It's 1440p, and not only is the resolution and everything good, the OLED display is amazing, and there's really not too much to hate on it. There's very little bezel on it. You have a camera hole right in the center, but you also have that 120Hz refresh rate on that display as well, which that in and of itself is an amazing thing. I literally love that. That's one of my favorite things about this phone, and the fact that this phone supports it is just making it that much better of a device in my opinion. Obviously, you have, the slim bezels like I said before, and the OLED and the, screen going off to the edges, but that 120Hz is a really nice thing, and I really, really do like that. Versus on the Google Pixel 4a, we're getting a 5.81-inch OLED display. This one is 1080p, and definitely it's not as good as the Samsung Galaxy S20's display, but it's still a very good display at the end of the day. It looks very good. You have that hole punch display in the top left, and even though the S20's display is far better, the 4a's display is still pretty good. Like, it's not a bad display at all, and if it was up to me, if I had to use it, I would not care. I would think the 4a's display is pretty good for the most part. Obviously, the S20 is a $1,000 phone, over $1,000 phone in some cases, and it's still a very good display versus the 4a's, like I said, $350 for this phone. That's not a bad price to pay for a phone with this type of screen layout. If you remember last year, we had the Pixel 3a, and people were raving about that display as well, and this one is definitely a little bit better than that one. So definitely the Pixel 4a has a really good display when it comes down to it, but the Samsung Galaxy S20's is far better. You have USB Type-C on the bottom of both of these, but you still have the headphone jack on both of these as well, which is very, very surprising. That's something unexpected, but you do have it on both. The Galaxy S20 also has a micro SD card slot though, so kind of keep that in mind. That is also a pretty important thing, but to each their own, whether you use it or don't. I mean, I'm not really gonna down you if you don't use it, but I always prefer having a micro SD card slot, and that is honestly one of my favorite things about a phone, and I'm so glad the S20 has it. And on the back, glass back on the S20 with a triple camera setup. The 4a has a plastic back with a single camera, and honestly, the S20 definitely feels far more premium. It definitely feels far better, but the Pixel 4a, for those who need a budget phone, you're not going to pick up this phone and be sad about the way it is built out of plastic or something, because you already knew what you were getting into. It's a $350 phone. It's not going to give you that $1,000 feeling like the Samsung Galaxy S20 does. So definitely when it comes down to it, the S20 is what you expect it to be. It is that premium feeling device, but the 4a is also what you're expecting it to be. It's not the best feeling phone, but it's also not the worst feeling phone either. So kind of keep that in mind. You have IP certification on the Samsung Galaxy S20, which is really awesome. The 4a does not have any IP certification, so in terms of the outside, that kind of covers it up for the most part. Now, one thing about the Pixel 4a that I want to say is that it's definitely making me more excited about the Pixel 5, and once that comes out, I'm definitely going to compare it against the S20, so keep that in mind. Software-wise, this is one area that the Samsung Galaxy S20 may not actually beat the Pixel 4a. So they're both starting off on Android 10, which is really cool, and I really like that. However, one big thing to keep in mind is that the Samsung Galaxy S20 has that One UI skin over it, which is definitely not my favorite skin ever. It's not my favorite version of Android, but the Pixel 4a is completely stock Android for the most part. There's no bloatware. It doesn't have a lot of random background processes. There's no skin over it. It looks extremely clean. It looks very minimal versus the Galaxy S20. Like, it's just such a strange software. Samsung still has a long way to go. However, they did just say at their Note 20 release that their software lifecycle is getting an extra year, which is really, really cool. And that's definitely one of my favorite announcements probably within this whole year. Not a lot of good things have happened this year, but this one is definitely one of the best things for sure, in my opinion, in the tech world. The fact that the S20 and the whole entire, even the S10, is getting an extra year of support is definitely a really really cool thing. It's pretty much on par with the Pixel lineup. So, the S20 and the Pixel 4a, they're probably going to get the same versions of software. Maybe the Pixel 4a will last a little bit longer, but still, that's a very good thing that the Pixel 4a and the S20 have going for them. So software wise, I still think the Pixel lineup will win, including the Pixel 4a. That's definitely a clean version of software, and if I had to use one on an everyday basis, I would way rather use stock Android than with Samsung's One UI. So the best thing in the world would be having Samsung's phone with stock Android. That would be really cool. Of course, you can change some things around with like a launcher and stuff, but it still is very good to have your own like phone that doesn't have to, have all the software installed. So in terms of software, the Pixel 4a wins. In terms of performance, I'll go ahead and tell you guys, and I did a speed test so you guys can see it for yourself. I'll tell you the specs real quick though. The Samsung Galaxy S20 has that Qualcomm Snapdragon 865 chipset, an octa-core CPU, an Adreno 650 GPU, and 8 gigs of RAM on the one model that it has, where the Google Pixel 4a has that Qualcomm Snapdragon 730G processor, an octa-core CPU, an Adreno 618 GPU, and 6 gigs of RAM. And as you guys can see from what I saw and everything, the Samsung Galaxy S20 is definitely the faster performing phone. I think there were some cases where the Pixel 4a was like faster, but that was few and far between. The Galaxy S20 is definitely not only the faster one between these two, but definitely one of the faster phones that I've ever tried. It's so smooth, the 120Hz refresh rate looks so good, and like I said, there's just not much to hate on this specific phone. It's a very, very good performing phone at the end of the day, but the Pixel 4a, as you can see, it's not like crazy behind. Like, it's definitely behind, but it's not like, days and days behind. Like, if I was just testing the performance out a little bit, you wouldn't think like it was this big of a difference between the price. Like, the Pixel 4a, a brand new one versus a brand new Samsung Galaxy S20. I mean, the Pixel 4a is like 3 times less the cost as the Samsung Galaxy S20, but it's not like 3 times slower. You know what I mean? Like, it's definitely slower, but it's kind of like what you're getting, what you paid for. And everything I was testing, all the speed and all that stuff on my Pixel 4a was perfectly fine for the most part. Like, yeah, it was slow here and there a little bit, but it was pretty much fine. Where the Galaxy S20 is extremely fast. Like I said, you're getting what you pay for. It's an extremely fast device. I have like really no complaints about it at all. But that Pixel 4a is still very surprising at the end of the day. So in terms of everything, I think that pretty much covers it up in terms of the performance. The Galaxy S20 is definitely the faster one, but the Pixel 4a is still very surprising in my opinion. Now, hitting on the cameras, the Pixel 4a has a single 12.2 megapixel sensor, where the Samsung Galaxy S20 has a 12 megapixel wide-angle lens, 64 megapixel telephoto lens, and a 12 megapixel ultra-wide sensor. And definitely when it comes down to the cameras, I want to say this, the Pixel 4a's camera is pretty good, okay? It's not like bad, it's not ugly, it doesn't look horrible, like it's definitely a good single sensor, but because it's a single sensor, you're still missing out on some of those cool features that you get with a, multiple camera setup. And it just so happens that the Galaxy S20 not only has multiple cameras on the back, but it's also extremely good looking cameras. The cameras on the S20 are extremely nice. I like them a lot. And not only do they have multiple camera setups, but you can also do 8K videos on that camera setup, which is insane. You also have the ability to shoot 4K videos at 60 frames per second, which is also really, really cool. So in my opinion, the Pixel 4a's camera isn't bad. Like, it's actually pretty good. But the Samsung Galaxy S20 just happens to be the better performing phone when it comes down to the camera sensors. On the front, 10 megapixel sensor on the S20, 8 megapixel sensor on the Pixel 4a. You can shoot 1080p videos on the Pixel 4a, when the S20, again, 4K at 60. So here we go again. I mean, I'm telling you, the Samsung Galaxy S20 camera is definitely better. I think everybody knew that, but the Pixel 4a's camera is still extremely good in my opinion for the price that you're paying for. Now, ending it off with the battery life, you have a 4,000 mAh battery on the Galaxy S20, but a 3,140 mAh battery on the Pixel 4a. And again, here you might think that the Pixel 4a has the better battery life, but I still think the Samsung Galaxy S20 has the better battery life on that 60Hz refresh rate. I think if you turn it up to 120Hz, then maybe it gets a little bit even, but I was expecting the Pixel 4a to have better battery life than the S20. That's not the case. It's still pretty good though. The Pixel 4a is pretty good, but the S20, not only does it have better battery life, but it also has wireless charging and reverse wireless charging, which those three things are a battery feature whether you like them or not. The Pixel 4a does not have any wireless charging, let alone reverse wireless charging. So I can definitely tell you the Samsung Galaxy S20, in my opinion, probably also wins in the battery department as well. Now, to kind of sum up this video and to answer the question, which one should you pick up? Obviously, the Pixel 4a is a very budget phone to compare to the Galaxy S20. We already knew who the winner was, but I just wanted to compare them because, it's very interesting to see how these two compare, how a super budget phone compares to a super premium phone. And I definitely do think at the end of the day, you're getting a far superior device with the S20, but price per value, I mean, you're still getting a pretty good priced phone and a very, very good value from a Google Pixel 4a. So yeah, the Pixel 4a doesn't have, wireless charging or, multiple camera setups or whatever, but for the core features that you're going to get from a phone, I feel like the Google Pixel 4a definitely does its job, and it's definitely really, really good for the price that you're paying. So that's really pretty much it. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that means so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys could hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.